What's up, good people? This is Long Overdue. This is the first couch conversations in a hot minute. The first one that I have done since turning 18. So let's get it. So it's October, summer has ended, and we're definitely in fall season for sure. It's football season as well. And I love October because it is the beginning of a new season officially, and like the weather is like perfect, and it's also homecoming time. It's also the beginning of the fourth quarter of the year, which is the last 3 months of the year, which means that we are 75% done. But it's also like the best and worst time all at once. I'm excited, but it's that time of year where all of the life after loss people are like on edge because it's the beginning of holiday season, and in short terms, holidays and life after loss is a nightmare. Thanksgiving without Pop Pop was pretty decent. Growing up, I spent Thanksgiving with my mom's parents, and then Christmas was mainly with my dad's parents, Pop Pop and Meemaw. And so the first Christmas without Pop Pop definitely ate me up for real. Last year I was in Miami, and that was my first time ever being away from home for Christmas. And it really messed with me. As much as I enjoyed, my first flight and, my first time in Miami and my first NBA game for Miami Heat, my heart was still missing, being back at home with Pop Pop and Meemaw, in the matching pajamas and everything, and being in front of the fireplace and being on that carpet floor and opening gifts, that's the kind of Christmas at home that I've always been used to. When I think of Pop Pop and Meemaw in heaven, I think of the sky, I think of clouds, I think of the sunset, sunrise, butterflies, birds, that's my thought. And so when I was on my first flight to Miami for Christmas last year, you better best believe I was like, good Lord, they got a good view from up here. I will say my parents moved on faster from Pop Pop and Meemaw's death, a lot faster than I did. So I technically consider myself the lone stranger on this journey. But my siblings and of course y'all have been my strongest outlet. And speaking of Pop Pop, actually today makes a year and 7 months since he passed away, on the dot exactly. It feels shorter and longer all at the same time, and I don't know which one is worse, to be completely honest. I noticed that sometimes I physically get start to feel sick when I have grief waves. Every day since March 22nd, 2023, it's just been like that off and on, and I just feel sick, just even though I'm not. So it's very annoying. And I know I am kind of rambling all over the place, but that is honestly what loss does to you. You think of a million things at the same time, and sometimes it's not always at the most convenient time. But going back to what I was saying about October and just how it's a new season, beginning of a new season, it's a season that you love, but you also dread at the same time, because holidays are a set in stone event that happens every year, the same day or same time, that sort of thing. And so when a person you love so dearly is no longer there, it's never the same. I can guarantee 100% for a fact that every single big event or holiday, I will tell you it was great, but the missing thing was my grandparents. I'm always gonna say that. I was always excited for Christmas more back then, than I am now, just because it's not the same. Like I said, being home in the matching pajamas, watching movies, eating together, opening gifts with Pop Pop and Meemaw on Christmas Day, to now being in a tropical island. And it's I love both, but it's when you lose someone, it's difficult. I'm gonna go a few different places when I say this, but to an extent, I kind of hate the person that I've become since losing Pop Pop and Meemaw. Life after loss will have you mentally, physically, and emotionally in places you didn't even know possible. I am more overstimulated now in my life more than ever. Too many people just stresses me out. Sometimes the small things trigger me, not completely, it's more of somewhat. Certain things my parents don't do that my grandparents did, it kills me. Like, I remember a couple weeks ago at family dinner, so to speak, I was attempting to share, a frustrating moment at school, and, it just, the vibes just wasn't giving, like, full, complete attention was given. And, in moments where, you are going through something frustrating and you want someone to listen and they're just not, it's very difficult, because it's like, you know what, never mind, because that makes me just want to shut up, because it's like, you want to know what's going on in life and you want me to update you about what's going on, and you ask me, about my day, sometimes maybe 6 hours after I come home and walk right past you through the door, but by that time I don't want to bring it back up anymore. And so, that sometimes is part of the reason why I don't always vocalize, just whatever's going on, just because it's like, you don't listen, you wouldn't understand, like that type of thing. But it's like, just in a sense, it's like, wow, you want me to know that you're going on another trip, you're hosting or planning another event, you're releasing more music, you're getting on a Zoom call or a work call. Like, this is my low-key rant, okay? So every single day for a while, up until Pop Pop passed away, I would call Pop Pop and like give him a whole rundown of my entire day or week or whatever, and he would just listen and like just let me talk, like literally. And now my siblings, they have like become that listening ear for me, just because they can handle it and they know me. And sometimes there's moments I don't say anything to anybody, like I said, just because it's like nobody gets it. And sometimes I just have those moments where I just cry and listen to music until the tears stop. And those are the moments that people don't see, but they would never understand it if they've never been through it. Going back to what I said earlier about sometimes the small things trigger me. So way back in maybe, way before, probably midway into sophomore year, before Papa passed away, he gave me his laptop that he used for church work and like all that stuff, way before retirement and all that. And his health conditions were worsening to the point where he could not use his hands or sit up to use his computer on a table. And so he lost a lot of strength, and he knew he wasn't going to use his laptop pretty much anymore. And so he had this bright idea, like, why let it sit here, in my house and collect dust when my princess can use it for, school. And so since, that time, I've always had, that hand-me-down laptop computer, and I've had it, and it has carried me through all of junior year, up until half of the first quarter of senior year. One day, it was actually the day that Hurricane Helene made landfall, but our area wasn't affected, but we were still out of school, because of course we're Florida. But I was at home working, and I turned on my laptop and the screen turned pink, and I was like, oh snap. And I wasn't too shocked, because it was starting to glitch off and on, here and there. And so, Pop Pop had already had it for a couple years before he gave it to me. So I wasn't too phased in that moment. So it was probably like that Wednesday night before Helene made landfall. And so school was out that Thursday and Friday. And Friday, when, the weather was clear and everything was great, we went shopping to get a new laptop. But the entire process of buying a new laptop was very, very emotional. Like, I kept pacing and walking around Best Buy trying not to like just sob in the middle of the aisle. And there were a million moments where I found myself just trying to keep it together, because I felt tears like welling up in my eyes. And one thing about me, when I start getting emotional, it is very hard to turn off the faucet of waterworks with me. It was very emotional because it took me back to a season of life that I absolutely hate. Around the beginning of October 2022, Pop Pop had a major heart attack scare. And that was like our warning sign that, it was the beginning of the end for Pop Pop's life. And just that we were coming to the end of this journey. And so the screen turning pink on that laptop and realizing that it was time to retire just kind of reminded me, it kind of paralleled with that season. When I came home with my new laptop, like sitting up in the living room, I went straight to my room and I shut my old laptop and I grabbed it and I just hugged it so tight and I was just bawling on the floor. And every single thing that I have that Pop owned or gave to me, like, those are parts of him that he left with me in a sense. And that computer was one of them. And I felt so dumb, crying over a laptop, but because especially I told you guys that I'm not materialistic, but when it comes to it being that special from that important and influential of a person in your life and in that situation, like, it's different. Like I said earlier, life after loss will take you a million different places in your mind and emotions. Like, it has you thinking thoughts you never thought you would think about. It has you crying over things people who haven't lost anybody wouldn't understand, and it also has you in a place thinking that you're good, but then something comes back in an instant and you're just triggered all over again and you just shut down completely. And it is a road that I absolutely do not wish on anybody. It is just painful, period. Like, there's nothing else to really say about it. I am praying for the entire life after loss community, whether if that's of grandparents, parents, spouse, child, anybody, in that sense, that this year's holiday season will be just as gracious as it possibly can be. So this is my update on my journey, and we are all in this together, ready or not. Holiday season is coming. I love you guys so much, and thanks for joining me for a long overdue episode of Couch Conversations. Bye.